Alright, hey there. I have just got my tracker out of my bike to change the SIM card because I wanted to change to a different provider. But I thought I'd take the opportunity to show you a few things about it and give a quick review. It's made by Autocom, who I think make intercoms primarily, and I think this is their first tracker, and it comes in at about 130 quid, so you can pick them up from, I got this from Infinity in London, but I think you can buy them online at quite a few places. What is there to say about it? Well, it's like a GPS tracker. You put a SIM card in, so you don't pay a subscription like you do with many of the more expensive trackers. You just got to keep your SIM card either topped up, or the reason that I've swapped mine is that I found it a bit of a pain to top up a pay-as-you-go SIM card, so I've swapped it for a very cheap contract one, which is through ID Mobile at £4 a month, and I think that'll easily give you enough text to use it. And that brings me on to how it kind of works, is that you might see some trackers with quite a slick app or interface, whereas this really works over SMS text messages. So if you want to know the location of your bike, you text a command and it will send you a Google Maps URL back through text. So it's a little bit basic in terms of the interface, and also one of the kind of annoying things is that you have to remember the commands. There's a certain protocol for switching it on, switching it off, getting the position, changing the settings. You have to kind of remember the syntax. It's all in this manual, but an example might be, such as if you wanted to change the time zone, you have to text time, space, zone, and your password, which keeps it secure so not anyone can text it, and then a number that represents the time zone that you want to set your tracker to. That probably didn't make any sense, but I think that's an example of, you know, the sort of stuff you have to do to get it to work. It's not the most user-friendly, but it's fairly cheap compared to some of the other stuff out there, and that's probably how they kept the cost down. So it tells you where your bike is. You can wire it up to the ignition so it alerts you if someone starts the bike. It also has a shock sensor, which is the main reason that I bought it. So if someone touches your bike, you'll get a text message. And what I've done is assigned a specific ringtone to that SIM card so that when I get a text, it's a very recognizable ringtone, and I know that it's my bike alarm rather than just someone sending me a text message. It works really well. You can adjust the sensitivity of the shock sensor. I put it on the most sensitive for a while, and it did go off a few times with the wind. But if you put it on the least sensitive setting, it's still pretty sensitive. If someone touches your bike, you'll still get a text. It just doesn't seem to go off all the time, so that's what I'd recommend. I think you can also set like a geo fence, so if the bike leaves a certain area, then alert you. There's lots of different things that you can do with it. I guess the main question when you're going to buy a tracker is whether you should go for a really cheap one off eBay, like 40 quid, which can do a lot of what this does, or whether you should go for the fully fledged bike tracker or something like that. The reason that I got this instead of a really cheap eBay one is because customer support at Autocom is really decent, and I don't think you would get that with a cheaper tracker. So the first unit that I got of this, I must say, didn't work actually. For some reason wouldn't connect after a while, but I sent it off to them and they investigated and almost straight away sent me back another unit. So I don't know if you would get that if you bought a cheaper one through eBay. Sometimes it can be quite hard to do returns and that kind of thing with an eBay seller. As for whether you should go for a more expensive one, if I had a really expensive bike, I'd probably use something like BikeTrack. Get them to install it in a hidden location, and you also get the support so that they call you or call the police if they detect kind of any activity that looks suspicious. You don't get any of that. Like I say, it's done on a SIM card and you kind of manage that yourself. But for a bike that's of the value of mine, it's a 10-year-old Kawasaki ER6N, I think this is probably a good compromise of decent but not crazy expensive. Generally, I found it to be pretty reliable. You can install it under the seat, for example, and it still gets a GPS and phone signal through the plastic cowling on the side of the seat. It doesn't seem to drain the battery, although it does have a sleep mode, so it wakes up when it detects vibration when the bike's moving. I'd recommend using that definitely if you don't use the bike for a couple of weeks so that you don't drain your battery. But yeah, it's great. I think all in, pretty decent, and I thought the customer support from Autocom was pretty good as well. So if you got any questions about this tracker or got any recommendations for any better ones in a similar range, then please do leave them in the comments below. And if you want to see more videos like this, click subscribe.